All right, just wanted to pick up where we left off yesterday, talking about poetry. So yesterday we talked a little bit about lines and stanzas and the mood of the poem. Today we're going to look a little bit more at how we analyze a poem, and then we'll do a little bit of practice later on. So to find meaning in a poem, readers ask questions as they read. So there's lots of things to pay attention to. Basically, you need to go into it with the mindset that anything that's in a poem is there on purpose. So one thing that you can look at is the title. So that one that we looked at yesterday, that was called Mad Song. That one gave us a clue before we even read any of it, what it was kind of about, what was going to be the mood, etc. The rhythm, is it slow or is it fast? And why did the author make it that way? What sound devices do they use? And then imagery, what pictures do you have in your mind as you are listening to it? Figures of speech, what do they tell us about the subject? Who is it that's speaking? Is it the poet, or is it a character in the story? Is it one voice, or is it multiple people that are speaking in the poem? What's the author's purpose? Why did they write the poem? So for example, if you watched any of the inauguration, or even if you didn't, there was a lot of buzz following the young lady who did the poem at the inauguration, because she was very young and African American, and she talked about uniting together as a country. So her author's purpose was what she was doing is she was trying to send the message. That was the purpose for her writing the poem that she did. We talked about mood yesterday. Plot, what's happening in the poem. And just like in when you're reading fiction, you're going to bring all of your background knowledge when you are analyzing a poem, and that's what's going to help you determine what the meaning of the poem is. Rhythm is when words are arranged in a way that they make a pattern or a beat. If you were in elementary music, you had those sticks that you would bang out the beat. But even if you weren't, you definitely at some point in your life have counted syllables. So there once was a girl from Chicago who dyed her hair pink in the bathtub. So sometimes if we hum the words, that helps us to decide what the rhythm is. Another thing that we look for in poem is the rhymes. Rhymes, of course, have the same end sound, but sometimes rhymes don't always occur at the end of a sentence. You might have something totally separate. So for example, For example, I thought I had this pulled up. This poem, it's called The Cremation of Sam McGee. And this one, it's kind of a dark humor poem, but it's very long. We're not going to look at all of it, but I just wanted to point out this one here. So now Sam McGee was from Tennessee, where the cotton blooms and blows. Why he has left his home in the South to roam around the pole, God only knows. He was always cold, but the land of gold seemed to hold him like a spell, though he'd often say in his homely way that he'd sooner live in hell. Okay, so if we look at this, we can see that blows rhymes with nose and spell and hell rhyme. But then there's also what's called an internal rhyme structure. So it's got Sam McGee and Tennessee and home and Rome and cold, gold, hold, and say and way. So that's something kind of interesting that we can have in poetry too. It doesn't always have to rhyme at the end. It could be at the beginning, or it could be in the middle, or it could be a combination like this one where it's at the end and at the beginning. The last thing that we want to look at is when we're looking at the rhyme scheme, the ordered pairs of rhymes, we letter them as they would go with the letter of the alphabet. So the first set, I guess, of words that rhyme, we put those with the first letter of the alphabet, which is an A. So as soon as this comes up, I'll show you this poem. But like in that last one that we looked at with Sam McGee, blows and nose rhymed. So those would both be A. Okay, so here's this one. Today is a new day, so we are on our way to uncover the unknown in a world we are shown. Tomorrow we will be new as well, and only time could tell. Where we are all going, nobody is all knowing. Okay, so day and way rhyme. So that's going to be A. Then you have unknown and shown, which is going to be B. Well and tell for C, and going and knowing for D. So the rhyme scheme altogether is AA, BB, CC, and DD. Okay, so those are a little bit on the rhyme scheme. Today you're going to do some practice on a poem called Hope is a Thing with Feathers. Okay, it's by Emily Dickinson. Hope is a thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, and yet never in extremity it asked a crumb of me. So one thing hopefully that you notice is that it has different words throughout it that are capitalized that wouldn't normally be capitalized. So gale, bird, sea, extremity, me, those would not normally be capitalized at the end of a sentence, okay? It also has hope that's in quotation marks, and it's got all these dashes that show us that we need to take a prolonged pause, a little bit longer pause. Okay, so when you're working on the worksheet, the first thing that you want to do is look at the vocab. Okay, and you can just Google these. So perches is the first word that we want to look at, and perches is something that a bird would sit on. Would sit on to rest. Okay. A gale, if you're not familiar with a gale is a strong wind. It even has synonyms as, a typhoon or a tornado. Sore, now we're not talking about physical soreness. We're talking about either upset or anger. Okay. Abash means to embarrass. Or make someone ashamed. Someone feel ashamed. My terrible typing here. Extremity. Extremity is the furthest points. So like the extremity of your body would be your fingers or your toes. Here we're talking about the furthest points or sort of the boundaries. Okay, so here's what they mean. Now, why did the author choose those words? If we go back to this sentence, so perch was the first one that we looked at. This says, hope is a thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. So if you're thinking about perch or perches, it's something that a bird does. So it brings this idea. So the reason why she chose perches is probably because that brings you back to hope being something like a bird. So it ties back into it being a bird. You're going to go through the other words, like gale, for example. Gale is a lot stronger than, say, a breeze. So it would make sense if the gale, and sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm. If a gale is a storm, you could equate that to all the negativity and the bad things that happen in your life, and how hope is still there. It's still a sweet thing that you can hear. Okay, You'll finish those up. You'll go to this capitalization, which words are capitalized. Already kind of talked about that. Why would they be capitalized? Well, because they're important words, right? Okay. The lined breaks and the white space. Where did the author stop each line? What effect does this have on the way that you understand the piece? So where does she stop it? Hope is a thing with feathers. That's a stop. That perches in the soul. That's a stop. And sings the tune without the words. That's a stop. And never stops at all. So why would she end the line where she ends it? How does that affect how you read it? How's the poem broken up into stanzas? We know that stanzas are sort of like paragraphs. Why does she do this? Does it have a particular subject? Tone. Tone is how the author writes. So for example, Stephen King, his tone is suspenseful or frightening or something like that. Okay. How does it make you feel? What's your mood? Tone is different than mood. So for example, with Stephen King, he might write in a suspenseful way. And how does that make me feel? I might be scared when I'm reading his books. All right, and then this very last thing is talking about an extended metaphor. So it's a metaphor. We know that a metaphor compares two things, but an extended metaphor goes out throughout the whole poem. This says, what do the birds' behaviors in the poem indicate about nature of hope as an idea or concept? How does it act? It is the hope. How does it act? What does it sound like? How does it treat the speaker? This one here. I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, yet never in extremity it asked a crumb of me. Okay, a crumb is a very little piece. Okay, this part here, how does it act? That can help you with that. How does it treat the speaker? And then the last question that I want you to think about is, what does the poem say about hope? What was Emily Dickinson hoping to get across through this poem? What was the lesson? Okay, as always, you can email me if you have questions or concerns, or there's something that you feel like you just need a little bit more instruction on.